Hello, my name is Michelle from the Chainguard Academy. In this video, I will be showing you how you can use Chainguard images to compile and run your C-based programs. If you'd like to follow along with this tutorial, please be sure to have both Docker Engine and the GNU compiler collection, also known as GCC, installed on your machine. You can find the code used in this demonstration as well as the written version of this guide at the links in the description. Let's get started. Before we begin working with images, let's become familiar with the files we will be using in this demo. If you take a look at the C directory, you will find 3 Docker files, a program written in C, and a program written in C++. Let's take a look at hello.c, where you will find a program designed to execute a simple Hello World style application. We'll go ahead and compile this program now, so navigate to the C directory in your terminal, type gcc-wall-o hello.c, and what that will do is compile our program and name the binary hello. You can then run that binary, and you'll see your output should be, hello world, I am a demo from the Chainguard Academy. My code was written in C. So now that we know our program works, we can move on to compiling and running it from within inside a Chainguard image. Let's take a peek at Dockerfile 1, which we will be using for our first image build. This will be a single stage build from the Chainguard GCC glibc image. Inside of this image, we will create a new directory named /home/build, which we will set as our working directory. We will then copy our hello.c program to that directory. We will then run the GCC compilation command, the same command that we ran earlier. And then we will move the resultant binary to our path so that we can execute it. We will set user for this image to be a non-root user so that the permissions aren't as elevated inside that container, reducing the attack surface when we run this. And we'll set the entry point to be that binary which we compiled. We can go ahead and start this image build by typing docker build-f dockerfile1, which specifies what Docker file we are building from, -t, example1 latest, which is tagging our image build with a name that's meaningful to us, and then dot. There we go, our image has built. We can go ahead and run this image build that we just conducted by typing docker run --name example1 latest. And again, you will see the same output that we saw earlier, this time being run from inside of our container image. Now let's move on to a multi-stage build. Take a look at Dockerfile 2, which should look similar to Dockerfile 1, but we have some additional statements. So we're using the same image as a base image, Chainguard's GCC-glibc image, but this time we're using it as the builder stage. Once we have compiled our binary, we're then going to switch to using the Chainguard glibc-dynamic image, which has less packages in GCC-glibc, which is better for running our final binary because we're no longer going to need packages like GCC when we're ready to run our program. So by moving to this more minimal container image, we're further reducing our attack surface there. The rest of the steps are similar. Copying that binary into the path where we want to execute it, setting that user to a non-root user, and then executing that binary when we're ready to run the image. So let's go ahead and build our second image. Type docker build-f dockerfile2 -t example2 latest dot. And that will go ahead and conduct our multi-stage build. We can go ahead and run that build by typing docker run --name example2 latest. And you'll see again the same output that we saw earlier, but this time coming from our multi-stage build. Finally, let's take a look at Dockerfile 3, which is going to look very, very similar to Dockerfile 2, but this time we're going to be using our hello.c++ program file. So take a look at that file real quick, and you'll see very similar to our other program. It's essentially the same thing, but written in C++ instead. So Dockerfile 3 is written specifically for a C++ multi-stage image build. we can go ahead and type docker build -f docker file 3 -t example 3 latest dot. And that'll go ahead and produce our multi-stage C++ image. Then we can go ahead and run it with docker run --name example 3 latest. And we get output again very similar to what we saw before, but this time the demo code was written in C++. And with that, you have successfully completed 3 separate image builds using Chainguard's images for your compiled programs. If you'd like to learn more, check some of the links in the description of this video where you can find other getting started guides on the Chainguard Academy, and you can also find resources for using Chainguard images with your compiled programs. Thank you for following along, and happy programming!